Welcome to OPA Podcast episode 51. Today is just three hosts. So it's me, Jason, along with.
Griffin most.
And I'm Wyatt Okers.
And Soup is out for some Jewish New Year stuff, so have him do that. And then also we think Laurence might be dying or suffering from.
Listen, Laurence is in his 1L year. He is probably not having a very good time right now.
Yep. So today, everyone, will be recapping the Gophers' victory the slacking of Michigan State last weekend. And then also preview homecoming at home at Huntington Bank Stadium versus Purdue. And then after that, discuss a couple other things related to the Gophers and anything else that we've seen so far. So, gentlemen, our Golden Gophers are now 4-0, currently still undefeated. Currently ranked 21st in the AP poll, 23rd in the coaches poll, beating due to us beating Michigan State 34-7 on Saturday at East Lansing. Any quick thoughts before I get into the stats?
Get into the stats, my guy.
We have a very good football team. That's.
That is not a bad football team at all.
If I have to mention my thoughts, Wyatt and I talked off air about it, was that I was expecting a closer game. I think we all did. And then just to watch the game throughout the day, I was like, holy crap. Like, we're stomping and, like, slacking Michigan State's team overall. I was like, holy shit. But yeah, going on to some stats, guys. So, in the air, Tanner was 23-26, only 3 incompletions for 80% completion percentage, for 268 yards with 3 touchdowns, longest being 26 yards. And then on the ground, our running backs, including Tanner and Cole Kramer, all combined for 48 carries for 252 yards. On the ground, so pretty balanced game. Mo broke records as well, achieving another 100-yard game. I think, is that 13 games is the current streak?
That is now 13 consecutive, yes.
Cool. And then also he broke Daryl Thompson's current record, or former record now, with the 41 touchdowns.
Yes, sir.
And then going on from there, despite the loss to Crab in Colorado a couple weeks ago, the receiving core stepped up. Mike Brown-Stevens led the way with 6 catches for 73 yards. Dalen Wright, 3 for 54. Daniel Jackson, 3 for 42. Brevin was 3 for 40. Mo was 2 for 20. Lemeki Brockington, 1 for 19. Clay Geary, 2 for 12. Then Nick Callerup, Trey Potts, and Bryce Williams got something in there as well. But amazing day on the offensive side of the ball, in terms of passing and running the ball. And then on defense, Mariano Sori-Marin led the way in total tackles, 2 solos and 7 assists. And then in terms of defense, Justin Wally and what's his name? Danny Strigo both got interceptions during the game as well. So awesome on them. No punting at all. After that, Matt Trickett was 2 for 2 on field goals and 4 for 4 for extra points. And yeah, that's a pretty dominating game. Gophers, in terms of time of possession, was 42 minutes and change. So dominated that side of the ball. We dominated the turnover differential. Michigan State had 3 turnovers. We only had the 1 fumble. But other than that, it was a complete dominating performance from the Gophers this last week.
Does anyone else feel, after that game, that 21 might be a little bit lower than this squad will be at the end of the year?
I will say yes, but I kind of don't want to talk about it. This is let us ride the emotional wave. Don't talk about us just yet. even though like Joe Klatt and all those people on the big media side are talking about the Gophers.
Listen, if you listen to the guys on the Big Ten network, then yeah, you're going to hear about the Gophers. But you're
Yeah.
not hearing about the Gophers as much on the national level as I think maybe we should be.
Was it Kirk Herbstreit, right? It was like one of the only ones. I think the only one that picked the Gophers this week.
Oh, really?
And then the Gophers put a absolute beating on Michigan State.
Mm-hmm.
This is. You look at the numbers. Look at the numbers for this team. This is the team in the Big Ten. They are second in offensive yards per game. They are the best team in the Big Ten in yards allowed per game. And sure, you can say that that's partially our opponents. But when Minnesota has played to the level of their opponents for years and years and years coming into this season, and now all of a sudden they're playing that next level of football, that elite level of football that PJ Fleck has been looking for all these seasons. That's a welcome change. And 21 is not the peak we will see this team at all.
And I am okay as we go along the season being ranked lower than we maybe objectively should be. I'm gonna.
I would have been fine being not ranked this week, quite frankly, but.
Yeah. But I think out of respect, they did the right thing. Some analysts even had us in the. I think one even had us in the top 10 in his own personal rankings, but those off ones don't matter. But still, we'll look at it going forward, and as long as we keep playing the same level of football and cut out all the noise, what they rank us every week will just be what they rank us, and we won't worry about it.
And I do want to mention as well, Kirk Herbstreit picked us, and then Joe Klatt. I think those are the two big names that I know of and saw in terms of like post game, like in terms of like tweets and talk shows and stuff, where like they really like what the Gophers are bringing to the table, and I'm okay with that. But I think as well, looking into the game as and such, there was a lot of things that I'm just going to briefly talk through like the scoring plays the entire game. So this is the first quarter. Mo runs it in at 9:50 for a 2-yard touchdown run. Then at 2:57 in the first quarter, Daniel Jackson with a 23-yard back shoulder fade to catch the ball into the end zone on the corner.
That was a hell of a catch.
It was.
Can we just say bravo Daniel Jackson on that one?
Yes, bravo. And then going to the second quarter, I think it was second quarter. I think we talked about on Snap on the group chat, like they called number 0 for hands to the face, and they called it on the wrong team.
Soup actually mentioned that they called that on the wrong team.
Yeah, I was like, bruh, I know I get both for number 0, but like it's plainly obvious on the footage that it wasn't Lemecki putting hands on the face, it was the defender. But like, all right. And then second quarter, Matthew Trickett made the field goal as well. Then into the third quarter, Michigan State was kind of like steaming down, like kind of like they look better. Like it looks like they adjusted, and then Thomas Rush comes in with the tackle on Payne Thorne, punches the ball out, and just so happens to land in the hands of one Justin Wally, which is amazing. Which that turnover by our defense gave us essentially a 4-yard touchdown pass from Tanner to Nick Calrup, which I believe was first career touchdown. So shout out to Nick there for that. And then in the fourth quarter, another touchdown from Tanner to Daniel Jackson. Matt Trickett had another field goal, and then in garbage time at 17 seconds left in the game. Michigan State's backup quarterback Noah Kim throws a 27-yard touchdown pass to true freshman receiver Jeremy Bernard, and that ends the game 34-7. So no matter how I thought watching the game, no matter how much Michigan State tried to make things work, either be running the ball or passing the ball, even when they got to the red zone, we couldn't, like, our first team defense and some of our packages couldn't let them do much from there. Like, our defense was fantastic. I know we're raving about the offense post game because like we weren't expecting what they were able to do like that, but big kudos to the defense. I was like, holy hell, like that was a shutout. Like maybe besides the first drive from the third quarter, but again, we knocked the ball out from Payne Thorne and recovered it. So, I'd say overall defense played amazingly, despite, I think in this case, 18 minutes, 17 minutes of that Michigan State had the ball the entire game. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, if you look at the numbers, Minnesota has the second best run defense in the conference. The only team that's got a better run defense right now is actually Rutgers, which is wild. But they also have the best pass defense in the conference right now. Of course, Minnesota's defense is playing well. We know Minnesota's defense is playing well, and they're not going to get shouted out like that because it's not sexy to play defense in the modern era. But yeah, the defense looks very good.
And so obviously with points allowed, they've allowed 24 total across the 4 games. But let's also note that 21 of those points are in the fourth quarter. So you don't even have all of the starters in. So if we're being realistic, our starters have given up 3 points. And that was the Western Illinois field goal in the first quarter. So just throwing that out there as we continue
to... team to be afraid of if you see them on your schedule.
And I think part of why people should be afraid is just the vision and like the reads pre-snap and post-snap. Like if you're talking like the linebacker DB level, I feel like they're able to, like Thomas Rush, I did not see him in years past as being such a mobile guy. Like his mobility has gone like through the roof just in this last year coming into this year. But just the speed of our defense in general, like we talk about how good they are, I think part of that's the speed. Like if they maybe make the wrong read and they can bail to like the second or third level with linebacker DBs and help make a play. The speed is what should, I think, worry teams the most because there aren't going to be a lot of breakout plays coming from first team defense.
Yeah, for sure. Outside of that, Wyatt and I talked this off air as well. We really haven't seen special teams be involved besides like like Matt Trickett being
Matt Trickett, who is absolutely meeting my expectations.
Yeah, 100%.
Kudos to you, Matt Trickett.
So far 100% on all the field goals he's made up until this point in the season. Again, he only had 2 this game against Michigan State. But I say, and then also Quentin Redding, who's our kick and punt returner, correct? Also been doing well, fielding the ball as best he can, making the right calls. If if it's going over his head, call it dead. So like our teammates, the Gophers don't touch it and cause problems. But I think overall, in the returning, I'd say I'm going to say this with a little grain of salt, but I feel like Quentin Redding may be one of our better punt and kick returners than we've had in the past. Like, don't get me wrong, I like Brock Annexted when he was back there. I like Demetrius Douglas when he was back there. Rodney Smith back then as well. But like, just saying the way how he carries himself in the backfield there, especially when they have to punt the ball, I'd say he's been doing pretty good. So, but yeah, not much for special teams, which I know why that's your cup of tea. But
I'm a big special teams guy. It's well documented on this podcast, and I cannot express enough how exciting it is to see Matthew Trickett sitting at 100% through 4 games. That is just chef's kiss.
Chef's kiss. But yeah, that's all I have, at least from what I can come to mind of. You guys have anything else regarding this game against Michigan State?
One thing that I loved watching MSU try to do is play man coverage on our receivers. Like, I can respect wanting to play man on them, but they simply just got fooled.
And they're wide receivers that you think with Chris Ottman-Bell out, okay, you don't have your wide receiver one, so my cornerback, my top cornerback can play or man coverage on your wide receiver too, right? Apparently not. Apparently you cannot just cover Michael Brown-Stevens like that. Apparently you cannot just put one guy on Brevin Spanford. Daniel Jackson is gonna get open if you give him your second cornerback.
One thing that I know they did is on a couple of those short plays, getting Brevin Spanford matched up with one of the smaller D-backs, I think is part of Kirk's scheme of if all these receivers are going to run shorter routes, then you're going to pull the safety down because you're going to want to have more coverage on these receivers, and then Brevin's going like the other way. So he's matched up on a smaller D-back, and they're pulling the safety away, so it's like it's a one-on-one. And when you have a big boy like Brevin, and you match him on some tiny, like Zero was tiny. He probably was like, I don't even know, like 5'8", 5'10". Like, he had no chance in the air. If Tanner puts it up high enough, there's absolutely no chance. So really
Brevin is in fact a large dude.
He is a unit, and they did a great job isolating really good mismatch. So credit to Kirk Shiraka there.
And I do want to chime in as well. Tanner threw some pretty good balls that game too. Some of the passes I saw, like again, I mentioned earlier when one of the touchdowns we scored to Daniel Jackson, that back shoulder fade was really amazing. That was a perfect throw and like perfect for Daniel to make a play on that ball. Other passes like to Dalen Wright, Mike Brown-Stevens was also amazing. I think Tanner, with Kirk Shiraka back as offensive coordinator this season, has looked more like calmer, more poised in the pocket. He didn't get sacked all game. And when he went through his reads, his first, second, third, fourth reads, if nothing was there, especially like, remember, he converted 3 major third downs with his legs. And I think in the broadcast they were complaining just a little bit because Tanner pulled like Kenny Pickett on one of those moves because like he kind of like almost gave himself up like to slide, but then like juke the defender or something, or not juke him, but like past that defender he was one-on-one with to get that first down. I'd say Tanner had an amazing game too, like not just in the air, like I think the stats says it all, but also he converted some key third downs with his legs, which, you know, we all know Tanner can do something with his legs if it has to be that way. But I think Michigan State wasn't anticipating, because I think in their post-game conference, one of their defensive linemen was like, yeah, we didn't game plan for Tanner or the guy to run with his legs to convert stuff.
Look at what we've been doing these past 3-4 years. We've had Seth Green. We've been blessed with Seth Green. And last season we used Cole Kramer. Cole Kramer was the guy who came in when we needed a quarterback to run the football. And now Tanner's being given that opportunity to show us exactly what he can do, not only passing the football, but also taking off with it if he needs to. And it's night and day when you look at what Mike Sanford did with Tanner and what Kirk Shiraka's doing with Tanner. And, you know, I wish we had the last couple of seasons back so that we could see more of what Tanner would have looked like now had he had 2 more seasons of Kirk Shiraka.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that Tanner is in the conversation to be one of those top quarterbacks off the board. He's going to be if he goes to the draft even, he's going to be a day 3 guy, or he might go undrafted. 2 more years of Kirk Shiraka, we might be having the discussion of, is this guy a day 1 prospect? And it's unfortunate that we're never going to know that.
Yeah. But other than that, amazing game. The Gophers went into East Lansing, did their job, and now 1-0 in the Michigan State season, 1-0 in the Big Ten right now, top of the West. Moving on, you guys ready to move on then to previewing homecoming against Purdue?
Yes, sir.
Cool,
Mhm.
cool. All right, so this upcoming Saturday, October 1st, 11 a.m. Central kickoff, our Golden Gophers will be facing off against the Purdue Boilermakers. Currently, with some quick stuff to add in here, it's going to be on ESPN2 for the broadcast. I'm trying to see if I can get to the game. Tickets are pricey, so I might just sneak in and be a photographer. Do other means that way. I don't know. How about you guys? Are you guys going to try to get to the game?
I'm out of town this weekend.
So this weekend is my second wedding anniversary, actually.
Oh,
So I will not be there for obvious reasons.
So
Yeah.
you will be going to the game to celebrate your anniversary.
I will not be there. No.
all right.
She didn't
all
think that was a good idea. Oh darn!
My wife and I have been to one college football game together, and it was the Minnesota-Wisconsin game the year that it just absolutely pissed snow all over the place.
right. Was that when
It
College
was-
Game Day came too?
Cold. Yes, that was college game days year.
Oof.
I did not make her go to the game day broadcast with me. I went to that myself, and then I went back for her to get her for the game. And it was cold, and it was a bitter loss.
For sure. Okay. But moving on, some quick items here. The betting odds are in right now. As of today, Monday the 26th of September, the Gophers are favored by -12.
I don't know,
Over-
but you guys smashing that spread.
Yep. And then over under is at 53 on that. Going from there, ESPN's FPI did update from Saturday as well. Because it was a different percentage, but now the FPI has the Gophers at 81.1% to win this game versus Purdue's 19.9%. Going on from there, some overall stats, points per game, Purdue has only scored 36, but allowed 23.3. In terms of the Gophers, we have scored 45.8 to 6 points allowed per game. Total yards 447 to 543. And for Purdue's more leaning towards the passing side of the ball, so 311 passing to 136 rushing. As for our Golden Gophers, pretty even actually, or close to even, about 249 for passing, and then about 294, 295 for rushing. And then yards allowed, Purdue has allowed 319 yards total versus our defense allowing only 188 yards total. And then some big news. Aiden O'Connell is still unsure or questionable to play against the Gophers on this road game. He did suffer an injury the game prior, not this past weekend against FAU, but before. I think it was a Syracuse, I think.
Suffered an injury at Syracuse.
Yep.
Correct.
A back injury, actually, which is a scary thing. I think.
Did he play last week?
No. Backup quarterback.
Explains a lot.
Backup quarterback, Austin Byrne, or I don't know what his name is. But yeah, they put in their backup quarterback who had a decent game against FAU. If we're getting into our opponent, the Boilermakers here, they're still coached under Jeff Brom. A very explosive offensive team overall. Their lead passer was, Austin Byrne. He was 21 of 29, 166 yards for 3 touchdowns and 1 interception this game against FAU. But also FAU kept it close. They barely won. Again, a win is a win, which was 28-26 against FAU last week. Their lead rusher, Dylan Downing, had so far 40 carries this season for 204 yards and 2 tutties. And then their lead receiver is Charlie Jones with 41 receptions, 533 yards, and 7 tutties. So right now we may be either be facing their backup quarterback in Burton or their starting quarterback O'Connell, but we don't know about O'Connell's status until it gets closer to the game.
I mean, they're always, even if they know a quarterback's not going to play, they're never going to explicitly tell like the media like they're not playing, just because obviously it's going to help the other team. I don't expect Aiden O'Connell to play, but he is their best chance to win.
I don't expect Aiden O'Connell to play, but I expect this team to game plan for Aiden O'Connell to be in.
And they will.
Because you're going to game plan for them to be at their best.
Always.
And that's just the PJ Fleck mentality. You don't expect less of your opponent than their best.
And if anyone else has seen it on Twitter today, Jeff Brom was giving some very serious respect to the Gophers, saying this is the best team that we're probably going to play all year. So it's nice to get some respect from your opponent, but we'll also see. We know the Gophers will adjust the game plan depending on who's in. They make adjustments during the game with offense, defense. We will have backup plan after backup plan ready.
Yeah, going on from there, I know PJ in his press conference mentioned a couple players on Purdue's side. I forgot which players that he mentioned, but some of them, again, Jeff Brom doing Jeff Brom recruiting things. Even though they lost, was it Rondale Moore went to the draft a couple years ago? Who was the other guy?
L is now with the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah. And then many other players on the offensive side of the ball, while they're maybe gone. Or King Doru, a big running back threat for them in years past, has moved on, but their replacements that have come in or have taken their place have been doing pretty well as well. So again, Wyatt and I talked off air. Like, there's no easy wins on the schedule, and I expect PJ's team to be prepared for that. Like, we'll prepare like a 1-game championship season against Purdue for this week, and that they're going to have explosive playmakers. You know, Jeff Brown likes to be explosive on his offense as well. So I'd say for me, Purdue is going to be a good opponent. It's going to be a great game, but just be very careful with their explosive offense. And then their defense, you know, may not have been doing well in the last few games. They're still, again, we cannot be, you know, sleeping on them either. They'll make plays as well. So I feel like I'm excited for this game. It's homecoming. It's going to be a fun weekend coming up here. And Purdue is going to be a toughie, I think. I think they're going to let us fight for every point we get. Anything else, guys, for this game? Nope. All right, then. So let's get on to everyone's predictions then. So I'll roll in first. I'm gonna say the Gophers win 38-28. So I'm not gonna take the spread.
Jeez.
Wow. I didn't expect to be more of an optimist than Jason on this one. I'm usually the pessimist of this group at this point.
Usually, yeah. Who wants to go? Give me your predictions.
I really don't see how Purdue can score as we just went into Michigan State and basically shut them out, other than our second and third team defense giving them a touchdown at the end of the game. So I am going to do about the same thing. We'll say Purdue will get their garbage time TD. I'll even give them a field goal. So we'll give Purdue 10 points. And let's give the Gophers a solid 41.
All right.
I'm going to sit comfortably in the middle of these two. these two projections and say 38-14.
Okay.
I really wanted to say 38, Wyatt, but I'm like, I know Trickett has another field goal in him.
I don't think he needs another field goal.
No, he doesn't need another field goal, but
I think he gets one early, and then they're going to get towards the fourth quarter, and they're just going to, they're not going to put him out there for a field goal
And milk the clock.
when they're winning by as much as they are.
I think they will for sure. He gets one right away. They score 5 touchdowns. They march down the field, and they're on the 20. They run 3 run plays. It's 4th and 5, and Trickett just goes out there and punches in, a mid-30s field goal.
Be happy for him when it happens.
But we also don't need to overdo it either. As long as he's doing what he has to do each game, he's doing a good job. So
for sure. So while we're wrapped up here to preview homecoming against Purdue, it's going to be a fun game for sure. I do want to mention a couple of notes here for everyone listening and watching. We're going to be on bye for the Golden Gophers the week after Purdue, after homecoming here. So we're going to take a break, actually. I'll let me and the guys take a breather for a week and stuff. So we'll recap Purdue and preview Illinois on the week of Illinois, just so we can take the week off for the bye. Unless the guys plan to record, but I doubt it. We'll take the Monday back. As for coming other things, guys, so here's some stats, because remember, when Griffin and I did the podcast last time, Wyatt, we both said preseason that we would lose to Michigan State, and that is updated. So right now, Laurent's is 4-0 in his personal predictions, and all 3 of us are 3-1 because we all thought we would lose against Michigan State.
How good does Laurent's have us being?
So here's his remaining calendar. So he says dub against Purdue, and then of course the bye, we win, obviously.
Yeah, you always win the bye week.
But then at the Illini, is the game we're back from the bye. Laurent says L against the Illini.
that's the Laurents we know.
Laurent's not to come back to the podcast until after that game.
And then after that, pretty much Laurent's, you, Wyatt, and myself said L's against Penn State on the 22nd. Griffin set the dub preseason. And then from there, we all said dubs for Rutgers, Nebraska, and Northwestern. For Iowa, Griffin thinks we're going to take the L for that for preseason. And then you take the L for at Wisconsin, Cam Randall, which essentially overall, most of us said a 10-2 record overall, like for the Gophers overall record. But personal, it's still fluid. We don't know yet until the games happen. But right now, all 3 of us are 3-1, and Laurent's is perfect so far.
Yeah, but Laurent's picked them to lose to Illinois.
Well,
that is not the trap game, I promise.
I will mention, because I know the patterns and not the tradition, but the pattern and the consistency is every 3 years we do well and slaughter the Illini, and then the 4th year we get schlacked. And now it's last year, so we'll be good for 3 years, I think. We'll see. But yeah, that's pretty much it for our personal record keeping. But other than that, moving on. But yeah, right now, guys, in terms of the West, the Gophers are on top. But we're also tied alongside Northwestern and Iowa because they are also 1-0 in the Big Ten season, in Big Ten play. And then Illinois, Purdue, Wisconsin, and Nebraska are tied for last in the West.
Are we really tied with Northwestern and Iowa, or is it just technically tied with Northwestern and Iowa?
Technically.
It's really hard to take Northwestern season, which has just gone off the rails.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I'm not sure who wrote it or who said it best, but like after they came back from Ireland, something happened where like The
They no longer
Wildcats
got
have
to
not
play
been playing
Nebraska.
well.
They no longer got to play Scott Frost's Nebraska is what happened.
Probably. But then in terms of the East, though, Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State and Indiana are tied for first technically, but obviously, Penn State, Ohio State,
Obviously,
Michigan
some
are
of those
tied on top.
teams are better than others.
Yep. And then Rutgers, Michigan State, and Maryland are tied for last in the East. But again, it's still the first week of Big Ten play for most teams right now. But yeah, we have a bit of a schedule up ahead. And you know, I'm gonna be antsy I'm still gonna be antsy for any Gopher game, moving forward because like now we're getting some recognition, we're ranked, and stuff. But other than that, so far 4 weeks in, I'd say it's been pretty good for the Gophers.
No, I mean you couldn't ask for a better start.
I want the record to be clear on this Penn State game, and I know we're headed into the Purdue season right now, and the Penn State season is several weeks off. But I want the record to be clear right now that Penn State is maybe being oversold as a football program. If you look at their schedule, they survived Purdue. And they've won a couple of games handily, but they're not against, top tier football programs. Their best win is, besides Purdue, is probably an Auburn. To put it kindly, Auburn is a basketball school now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I'm not entirely convinced by this Penn State team, and I want to put that on the record sooner rather than later.
And I'll also chime in. Soup didn't give us any notes prior to the podcast, but he has harped on this a lot in previous episodes, guys, where if you remember in the past, so like 2019, when we went 11-2 that season and went to Tampa Bay for that bowl game against Auburn, if you think about, remember the non-conference play where we played against 3 opponents that we should had easily slacked, but we really didn't. Like some of the games were really close back in 2019. Like South Dakota State we won by 7. I think that game was like 14-7 or 21-14 in the end.
28-21.
Yeah, 28-21. What was the game after that? Where we needed heroics from Demetrius Douglas to bail us out in the fourth quarter.
I believe it was Fresno State.
Yeah, I believe it was Fresno as well.
Oh, Fresno. That was Crab with the toe tap in the end zone.
Yep.
And then the next home game after that. So in the past, the Gophers always played to the level of the competition until now, right? Like
the Gophers are now playing to the level that the Gophers play at.
Correct.
That is what we are doing. We are not bringing a different team every week.
And they slacked New Mexico State. They slacked Western Illinois, and they did also slack Colorado. Inferior teams, and especially one of them is a Power 5 program, which may end up going 0-12. Like that might happen to Colorado. Maybe 1-11, 2-10.
Rip Colorado.
But and then we made a statement by slacking Michigan State 34-7, who's hoping to rebound after a devastating loss against Washington. Michael Penix slaughtered the crap out of him in the air that game. And Michigan State made a comeback, but was short, 11 points. The Gophers, I know Super Harper is playing the way a Big Ten team should be playing against inferior competition. And I think knowing Soup hopes that dominant level of play keeps moving forward with the upcoming games here. And I totally agree. That's the thing I'm on board of. The Gophers are playing like a top ranked Big Ten program. Like we can run the ball, we can pass. We have a lot of pass catchers. I think Michigan State, we had 10 pass catchers the entire game as well. That includes our tight ends, our receivers, our backs. So, I'm excited at what this Gophers can bring, and hopefully bring us to the promised land or something at the end of the season. But that's just me.
By the promised land, do you mean Indianapolis?
Yes. Because we haven't been. I think the Gophers haven't been to a Big Ten title since I think the '60s, right?
It's been a while.
Yeah,
It's about damn time.
for sure. But that's just me and my little tangent there. You guys got anything else to discuss in the podcast here?
I don't have anything Gopher related, but I do want to give a specific shout out to one Adrian Martinez, who this week put up 4 total touchdowns in a win against Oklahoma, the week after his former team got absolutely spanked by Oklahoma. I just want that on the record, and I hope Scott Frost is listening, and I hope he's unhappy.
Did you guys see? No, you guys see they're not ranked. Kansas State, right? That beat Oklahoma.
Yeah, Kansas State.
They're not ranked.
Well, Oklahoma. The best part is Oklahoma's still ranked.
Like what? Sorry, Griffin. Go ahead.
I don't even remember what I was gonna say.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
But yeah, no. I was surprised that Kansas State did not get ranked, but Oklahoma is still ranked. And I'm like, could they not at least put Kansas State at 25?
Well, Kansas State was at 25.
Oh, they were?
On the AP poll, they should be.
Okay, never mind. I'm a dingus.
Because they dropped Oklahoma to 18.
Yeah, Oklahoma fell like 12 spots. It was brutal.
Youch.
That's what you get for losing in Big 12 play.
AP Top 25 couldn't possibly put 2 Kansas teams on there at the same time.
Literally.
Can we take a minute to just say what the hell is happening in Kansas? That team is 4-0.
Wait, who wasn't their previous head coach who got fired under like allegations and stuff? Was Les Miles, right? And he exited the program.
Yep.
And then who's their current coach now? I'm blanking on his name. Yeah, they're 4-0.
Admittedly, their best win is also probably against a basketball school. But they are also a basketball school, so you got to take the wins where you can get them. And in Kansas, you do not often get 4 this early in the season.
Nope. No, you don't. But yeah, we're good on college. I do want to touch something in the NFL stuff. So you guys good to move on?
Yes, sir.
The Vikings gave me a heart attack many times yesterday. I get it. A win's a win, 28-24 against the Lions. But
the Vikings did not win that football game. The Lions absolutely lost it.
Yep.
I was there.
Oh no.
I've got a buddy who's a Lions fan from law school. So we went to the game, a couple of us from law school. And it was a brutal game for all of us, I think.
Yeah. It was painful to watch that game, but somehow we got the dub, and we're now 2-0 in our division for the NFC North. But I will say, in terms of other games in the NFL, Tua is doing really well.
If we're gonna comment on Tua, we've got to comment on the concussion thing.
Yeah,
because that is just. You have to have better concern for player safety. And the NFL's been saying forever that they take concussions seriously. And, Tua coming back into that game as quickly as he did shows that they absolutely do not.
Yeah.
And the NFL has to do a lot better than that.
Yeah, for sure. Like he was still a little wobbly as well coming back out. Like it wasn't himself, honestly.
Just watching him get up from that play, that's not a player you want in the game at all for the rest of that week. No, like that's not safe for the player. I don't care if he gives you a better chance to win than Teddy Bridgewater. You're not going to take that risk with that player. You can't do that. And it's mismanagement by the Dolphins and mismanagement by the NFL.
I know that Tua did say that he said it was like his back and not his head. Do you buy that?
Absolutely not.
Nope.
You like if it was your back, you're not getting up like that. You're laying down. Your back's not going to do that to you. Your head's going to do that to you. That's it. It reminds me of when Patrick Mahomes was very clearly concussed in the playoffs that one year. And, sort of dodged out of concussion protocol and played the next week with definitely a concussion.
Yeah. But hopefully
there's a lot of ways the NFL needs to do better right now, and that is probably not even at the top of the list, but
there's a lot of things, but hopefully he gets better. They're 3-0 right now.
Yeah, the Dolphins are leading the AFC East.
Yeah. Mac Jones is unfortunately hurt. He may not come back for the next game here, so I say the AFC East is up for the grabs between the Bills and the Dolphins currently. But other than that, that was a fun game. The Bills and the Dolphins. You guys see the clip of the Bills OC rampaging in the booth. Let's see.
What can I say? I'm usually a pretty chill guy.
And you got to think that's not even close to his fault. It's like your quarterback literally just threw the ball in the ground. Why are you mad?
Yep. But other than that, the Vikings up next is flying to London, playing against the New Orleans Saints.
Can't wait to wake up at 8 o'clock on a flippin' Sunday
morning. Nah, man, I'm gonna sleep in and just watch the DVR broadcast, that recording, and see how the game goes. But yeah, cool. Well, anything else, guys? Hot takes as well. We'll take it before we wrap.
I don't think I have any hot takes yet. I think we're going to see those hot takes come later in the season.
All right. Cool. Well, everyone, thank you so much for listening to episode 51 of OPA Podcast. So this podcast, again, recapping Michigan State, previewing homecoming versus Purdue. But other than that, have a great rest of your week. Have a great homecoming if you're planning on going. If not, doing a house party. Have a great time with friends and family watching the game as well. But other than that, we'll see you guys for the week to preview the Illini. We're going to take a break for the bye week after Purdue. And then once we're back, we're going to be back in full swing. Hopefully with the rest of the guys on. Like maybe try to get LaRod's on here for the Illini preview or post. But other than that, thank you so much for watching. I have
some words for that, man.
But thank you so much for watching and listening to today's episode, and we see you guys next time. So I'm one of your hosts, Jason No, along with
Griffin Most.
And I'm Wyatt Oakers.
And we'll see you guys next time. And
Oh.